Coming up, Dance Marathon returns to Iowa City. And later, tensions continue to rise between the U.S. and China.
Iowa men's basketball gets a sweet victory over a bitter rival.
It might finally be warming up just a little bit in Iowa City.
This is DITV News at 8:30. Good morning and thank you for tuning in live to DITV and KRUI 89.7 FM. I'm Johnny Valtman. My apologies, we are having some minor technical difficulties this morning. Over the weekend, a Chinese spy balloon was spotted flying over the U.S. The balloon was initially spotted in Montana and tracked to the Carolinas before finally being shot down over the Atlantic Ocean. There was criticism regarding President Biden's response time. However, the executive office has stood firm on its decision.
And the bottom line here is that shooting down the surveillance balloon over water wasn't just the safest option, but it was the one that maximized our intelligence payload.
The balloon is suspected to have been collecting information from U.S. communication systems and radars, such as cell phone traffic and radio traffic. China continues to assert that the balloon was an airship for civilian use and accidentally made its way to the U.S. It was announced in a meeting this past Saturday that the Iowa caucus will no longer be the first presidential primary for the Democratic Party. After deliberations among the Democratic National Committee, it was decided that it will now be South Carolina that will host the first primary on February 3rd, with Iowa now not being able to caucus until March or later. The change was initiated back in December by President Biden, as he hoped a revised schedule would allow a more diverse voices to be heard earlier in the primaries. There is no set date for the Iowa caucus in 2024. Over the weekend, the University of Iowa hosted their annual Dance Marathon big event. I was there at the event and have more on how much the marathon raised.
The University of Iowa held their 29th annual 24-hour dance marathon over the weekend, marking the first time since the pandemic that the event took place in person.
This year's slogan was Ignite the Light. Speakers throughout the Dance Marathon organization opened the night talking about the history of Iowa's marathon and the impact it has had.
Dance Marathon isn't just a moment, it's a movement. And like Regina said, University of Iowa was one of those that first started that movement across the nation.
The marathon was filled with plenty of dancing for the 300-plus participants. Along with the dancers in attendance were mascots Herky and Perky, Iowa's Sparkles and Spirit Squad. Highlights throughout the event included a parade of families which are being supported by the Dance Marathon, a graduation of kids who have been cancer-free for 5 years, and a touching tribute to the kids who lost their battle to cancer.
And all the work that you're doing here at UIDM 29 and that UIDM has done through the years has helped us in all parts of these missions. So thank you very much for your passion, for your hard work, and for your generosity.
After an entire day had passed, the total was revealed, an amazing $1,174,008.29 was raised. All the money will go to the UI Stead Family Children's Hospital to combat childhood cancer.
Even with the big success of the event, fundraising for next year's event has already begun. From the Iowa Memorial Union, Johnny Valtman, DITV News.
A scam email was recently sent out to members of both the University of Iowa and Iowa City communities. The email claimed to be giving away a free 2014 baby grand piano worth around $6,000. One member of the Iowa City community who wishes to remain anonymous talked to the Daily Iowan about her experience. She had planned to donate the piano to a local high school. However, upon contacting the phone number provided in the email, she realized that it was a scam. Most scam emails are caught by the university's filter. However, since this one came from a University of Iowa email, it was able to sneak through the filters and reach more people. Now let's head outside with AJ, where it seems to be warming up.
Well, Johnny, it's definitely a little warmer than last week, but still be prepared to wear a light jacket like I wish I had right now. Today, we will experience a high of 47 with a low of 23 and gusts of wind up to 35 miles per hour. Tuesday will be sunny with highs in the mid-40s and lows in the upper 20s. And be prepared to bring an umbrella to class later this week because there will be a 40% chance of rain on Wednesday and a 70% chance on Thursday. And over the weekend, a new national wind chill record was set in New Hampshire. Last Friday night was already a frigid negative 46 degrees in Mount Washington, but with wind gusts up to 127 miles per hour, it felt like negative 108. The mark beat what most meteorologists believe was the previous U.S. record of negative 105 set in Alaska. So, Johnny, if you thought it was cold in Iowa City last week, I would think again, because I'm sure the citizens of New Hampshire would have loved to experience just single digits last weekend.
Thanks, AJ. Earthquake has hit Turkey and Syria early this morning. More than 1,500 are dead. The earthquake is measured with a 7.5 magnitude, resulting in very strong and severe shakes. This quake is expected to be the strongest to hit Turkey since 1939. People with diabetes are now worried about being able to access life-saving medication as there is a nationwide shortage of the drugs. Diabetes is a chronic, long-lasting health condition. It affects how food is turned into energy within the body due to a lack of insulin. Recently, a popular diabetes medication was supported to use as a weight loss drug, despite not being indicated for weight loss. This has resulted in the drug now having a higher price and demand. This is resulting in more people starting to worry about being able to access their life-saving medication as demand and price continue to increase. Are you wondering about what those giant inflatable white bunnies are for? Over the last week, students have been treated to 6 massive white bunnies that have appeared all over the pedestrian mall area. These bunnies came to visit all the way from Australia and were designed by international artist Amanda Parr as part of her installation titled Intrude. Each Intrude rabbit are given names such as Helen, Buster, Charlie, and Hippity Hop. You can visit these rabbits, take pictures with them, and even have fun conversations with them by scanning the QR codes located on signs placed by each rabbit. And here's another site to get excited for. Gardens are set to open this spring to help reduce the university's carbon footprint. The student org determined growers incorporating radical farming has worked to fundraise and plan these gardens for multiple years. The gardens will have edible produce and allow students to get on-campus gardening experience, as well as provide accessibility and aesthetics to campus. The edible gardens on campus will provide pollinator-friendly spaces, increased biodiversity, and more eco-friendly conditions on campus, which will help the UI meet the requirements of the B Campus USA designation, which they achieved last year. Now let's send it over to DITV Sports with Max Von Gries.
Thanks, Johnny. The Iowa men's basketball team welcomed in bitter rival Illinois for their only matchup of the season Saturday in Carver Hawkeye Arena. DITV sports reporter Vivian Samowski has more on how the Hawkeyes walked away with a key win.
The Iowa men's basketball team battled against the Fighting Illini, ending up on top 81-79 to add to their 2-game winning streak. In front of a sold-out crowd on Saturday, right from tip-off, the Hawks were in a battle against the Fighting Illini in a back-and-forth game, as the Hawkeyes were struggling on defense but made some changes as they went 22 for 25 in the first half. This was a big game for Tony Perkins as he had a streak of 15 straight makes, which tied a program record for free throws and created a new personal best with 32 points.
Guys cooking. I would just keep going. What was impressive to me about that was the players that were on the floor with him. They're yelling out plays to me that we should be running for him. So they recognize that, like, okay, this guy's on fire. We're going to him. Nobody else is shooting the ball right now.
Murray was behind Perkins as he totaled 19 points and was the team's best in rebounds and assists. With an even game of 76-76 on their 2 minutes left in the game, Sophomore Payne Sanford made his third triple with 1 minute and 23 seconds remaining. As the Hawkeyes were up by 3 points and a foul with 1 second left on the clock, Illinois was sent to the line. The second shot was missed and Connor McCaffrey pulled in the rebound, and as the clock rang, it was yet another Hawkeye win. After 3 home games, the Hawks are heading on the road this week to play Purdue on February 9th. Tip-off is set at 6:01 p.m. From Carver Hawkeye Arena, Vivian Samoski, DITV Sports.
Thanks, Vivian. And the Iowa women's basketball team remains red hot as they traveled to Happy Valley and defeated the Penn State Nittany Lions 95-51. This pushes the Hawkeyes' win streak to 7 straight, dating all the way back to January 7th when they traveled to Michigan and came away with the upset win. Caitlin Clark led the way once again, finishing with an impressive 23 point, 14 assists, 10 rebound triple-double. Not only is Clark a great role model on the court, but off the court as well, as she continues to be one of the largest role models for young girls aspiring to play basketball. Whether it be signing autographs or taking selfies with fans, all eyes across the nation are on Caitlin Clark and how she's changing the culture within women's basketball. The Hawkeyes look to continue their win streak to 8 as they travel to Bloomington, Indiana to take on Indiana on Thursday. And the Iowa men's wrestling squad traveled to Minneapolis this weekend and took home a win against the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. DITV sports reporter Aiden Wirtz has more on how the match went down.
After falling to top-ranked Penn State, the Hawkeyes took on Minnesota this past Friday in hopes of bouncing back. While Iowa won 7 of 10 matches, they couldn't manage bonus points in any of them. 165-pound wrestler Patrick Kennedy had the highest scoring match for the Hawkeyes, winning 13-8 against Minnesota's Cale Carlson.
I felt pretty good at the effort, but points is what wins wrestling matches. You can beat a guy in the mat, but ultimately you got to beat him on the scoreboard.
Despite an underwhelming performance, the Hawkeyes won 18-13. This Friday they'll face off against the number 6 ranked Michigan Wolverines in Iowa City. With one final showdown after that before the postseason, the Hawkeyes will need to be flawless to have a shot at the championship.
And 3 unattached University of Iowa women's wrestlers competed and took home championships at the Bearcat Open on Sunday in Lebanon, Illinois. Sterling Diaz, Ava Bayless, and Ella Schmidt all were crowned champions, and 2 other unattached Iowa wrestlers finished as medalists as the Iowa Hawkeye wrestlers outscored their opponents 162-26 and had 5 pins and 11 tech falls collectively. Iowa women's wrestling is competing unattached for the 2022-2023 season and was the first Division I Power 5 school to add women's wrestling back in September of 2021. They will officially begin competing for Iowa in the 2023-2024 season. And there was breaking news yesterday afternoon in the NBA world as basketball star Kyrie Irving was traded to the Dallas Mavericks from the Brooklyn Nets. Irving, who requested a trade on Friday last week, is out of Brooklyn and headed to Dallas after lots of controversy the last 2 seasons while playing for the Nets. The Mavericks traded for Dorian Finney-Smith, guard Spencer Dinwiddie, and 1 first-round pick along with multiple second-round picks in future drafts. Irving will be paired alongside superstar Luka Doncic, who is certainly in contention for MVP this year and who also desperately needed help in the Mavs' push to make the postseason. However, the Mavericks weren't the only team who had their eyes on landing Irving, as the Lakers and Clippers held talks with the Nets front office in the hopes of getting a trade done for Irving. Kyrie is expected to travel to Dallas today for a physical with the Mavericks team doctor, and that could potentially play as early as Wednesday when the Mavericks take on the Clippers. Come back Wednesday for the latest on Hawkeye Sports. Back to you, Johnny.
Thanks, Max. Let's check in one more time with AJ, who is still live outside. AJ, how are you doing?
Well, Johnny, I'm doing all right, but I'm really excited for this warmer weather to stick around so you and I can play some one-on-one basketball. But for now, we have to stick inside with our book club because this wind is brutal and will probably mess up my jump shot, which already looks terrible. So back to you in the studio.
Thanks, AJ. Last night was the Grammys, the biggest night in music. The ceremony featured performances from Mary J. Blige and Lizzo. Along with that, Beyonce won her 32nd Grammy, breaking the record for most Grammys ever won by an individual. Other awards given out include Samara Joy winning Best New Artist, Just Like That by Ronnie Raitt winning Song of the Year, and Harry's House by Harry Styles winning Album of the Year. Thank you for tuning in to DITV News and listening to KRUI 89.7. I'm Johnny Valtman. Have a great day.
Feb.